Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Embarrassed. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It's Thursday, December 5th, 2024, and the Lakers ought to be embarrassed. We want to start today by going through a few NBA storylines because while we may not be paying attention because of football season, the Juan Soto sweepstakes, Zoom meetings with Max Fried and the Yankees, the NBA season is rolling merrily along. And we've touched on the product issues and how unwatchable it is. We've touched on the ratings and how down they are. People just aren't engaging in the game. We've touched on all of the proliferation of three-point shooting where everyone is simply chucking and ducking all game long, including last night in Miami. But I wanted to get a little granular to give you 4 things to think about on a random Thursday morning in the first week of December. Starting with the Lakers, a team that the NBA, as we told you yesterday, they need the Lakers to be good. And the Lakers are stuck with an aging LeBron James who is having a pretty above average season for someone about to be 40. Still one of the top, probably now 20 players in the NBA. But the team that he's assembled, which he, of course, is separating himself from, the team which he coaches, which, of course, he's separated himself from JJ Redick. I'm just a player focusing on my money-making production company. That's an inside joke. Side note, LeBron James, one of the many players, entertainers who have their own production company, an article from yesterday or 2 days ago, they're just bleeding money, absolutely getting crushed. But it is fun when his name appears on a title card in a movie. And I'm not hating on what he's doing. It's just not a money-making proposition. I'm not hating on him as the second best player ever in the history of the NBA. I'm hating on what the Lakers are doing. They lost by 41 points last night. I think I got our pick of the day wrong. We'll talk about it later in the show. I was only getting 2.5 points, so I needed to be getting 42 points, which didn't quite work. But after the game is what interested me, of course, when JJ Redick said, "I'm embarrassed." We're all embarrassed. It's not a game where we have the right fight, the right professionalism. I own this. That's what a coach has to say. But there's going to have to be some ownership on the court. JJ Redick in his first year as the hand-picked coach out of the pod world, practically right off the court himself, has realized that becoming Poppy is not easy. Becoming Steve Kerr, being Steve Kerr, not easy. It turns out having good players definitely helps. It also turns out that being a good coach has nothing to do with being a good orator. That being a good coach has nothing to do with having hot takes. That being a good coach has nothing to do with thinking that you can be a good coach. It requires talent to both run plays, to both control your locker room, and to figure out a way to maximize the talent given to you by what is often an inept front office or the empowerment of a player who is surrounding you with the talent that they get surrounded with. So the Lakers have to figure something out because the NBA is going to be looking at a playoffs without the Lakers, which is less than ideal. Although given a choice between Lakers and Knicks succeeding, I still believe that this is a very New York-centric point of view that the NBA would rather have the Knicks being good than the Lakers. That's one. 2, can we talk about Zion Williamson, please? Zion Williamson, the superstar. I want to bring this back for all the new listeners to Nothing Personal. Thank you so much for sending me your photos. Coca, they've started with the top 5 shows that people listen to throughout the year. And so many of you are getting onto davidsampsonpodcast.com or on Twitter and DMing me at David P. Sampson or Instagram and showing me a screenshot of your top 5, which has nothing personal in it. Sometimes at number 1, somebody, Coca, said they didn't miss an episode all year. Gold star to you. Neither did we. So thank you. So John Morant. Oh, sorry, Zion Williamson. Thank you. We're going to get to Jaja. But Zion, he's hurt. And they just announced, the Pelicans did, that he's going to miss 2 more weeks with this hamstring injury. And I am getting so close to a wait to see victory where I told you that Zion would not play 30 games this entire year. Well, guess what? So far, he's played 6. The New Orleans Pelicans were built to win. They've got a player, Ingram, who doesn't want to be there. They've got a player, Williamson, who can't play. And they've got a record, what is it, Coca, 4-18? They are very highly seated in the West if you held a mirror to the standings. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say that even better. 4-8-6-9. The Pelicans are the top seed in the West if you held a mirror to the standings. John Morant is the third story I want to mention to you. We like dunks, don't we? Because it's something that we all do. Was I the only one as a kid who tried to imitate James Worthy on a Nerf hoop, which was always right around an inch taller than I was, however tall I was? So at 4'6", you put it at 4'7". You take the Nerf ball, which you're able to palm because it's the size of a grapefruit, and you extend your arm back when you had full extension and no rocks in your elbow or in your shoulder from age, calcification, from lack of milk and bones that are brittle and falling apart. You grab the grapefruit and you dunk it and you do a 360. You pretend you're Jordan. Well, I used to pretend that I was Connie Hawkins, age alert. Then Dr. J, better. Then Worthy, better yet. And eventually Jordan, though, when I started imitating Jordan, I was obviously older. And then, of course, the invention of the regulation hoop that was on a swivel. So you could bring the hoop down to a very low level and then dunk on a regulation hoop that wasn't regulation height. That's technological progress right there. So we love the dunk. John Morant yesterday said, you know what? I'm not going to dunk. He got booed. This is incredible. What a statement about our world. We're going to talk about our world later in the show, but John Morant's on the road. He steals the ball. He's on a breakaway, and he lays it in with 2 hands. And the home crowd booed him because they wanted to see one of his 360s flying through the air, insane dunks. And John Morant said, hey, I'm not here to please you. I'm here to win a game. And I'm also here to try to stay on the court. Because when John Morant is not being suspended for various things that has happened, that he's done to himself off the court, he's hurt on the court. So what he said was, and he was asked about it after the game, he missed 8 games. Remember when he had the posterior hip subluxation? And then he had some pelvic strains, and he had the shoulder, the hip, the head, the nose, knees, and toes. Oh my. He said, I got to tell you, I'm not lying. I'm not trying to dunk at all. You all think I'm lying, but I'm dead serious. And he said, 2 points is 2 points. I get it done. That's all that matters. And the reason why he was saying it is he was responding to fans who want the spectacle. When you buy a ticket to an event, just think about this. We're not going to make it a thing for you on a Thursday, but just think about it. When you buy a ticket to an event, when you buy a ticket to a baseball game, you don't have the expectation that anyone's going to play. You just don't know. You hope that the starting pitcher will start, but you buy a ticket and there could be an injury warming up in the bullpen and you could get a bullpen game. When you buy a ticket to the NBA, you have no idea who's going to be sitting for load management. You wait as long as you can to put in your bet because you just don't know who's playing. And you still buy the ticket and go to the game. Is there any sporting event where you are positive who the performers are going to be before the sporting event starts? The only one that I thought of when going through this was when you buy a ticket to a boxing match. If the boxers can't go, then that's the end of the event. So you're pretty much sure who it's going to be. And then I said, well, a tennis match, if you buy tickets only the day before the match for a specific matchup, then you can expect the matchup. But it's only individual sports. So for a team sport, you've got to change your vantage point. It is not your right as a fan, nor my right as a fan, to have any expectation of anything to happen on the court by any particular player. I just don't think we have the right to do it. Of course, you have the right to boo. The fourth story in the NBA is Kevin Durant of the Suns. I don't know if you saw, but he got hurt again. He's out with an ankle. He stepped on a player's foot in the game against the Spurs. When you're putting a team together and you are so dependent on a player, the worry that you have as a front office about that player getting injured, and I talk about it with the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis, the way he does the Euro step into the lane, where I don't understand how he doesn't twist his ankle more. And what happened to Durant stepping on the foot of a player, it can happen with Giannis and does, and just luckily he doesn't move his ankle every time. It's when you're in the front office, you worry about certain players doing certain things. Whether it's in baseball, you worry about a player running if you know their hamstring is hurt. You worry about a pitcher if his mechanics change because he's got a little bit of soreness and you don't want the Toradol to wear off. There's all these things you worry about. And then when that worry manifests itself as truth, it's so frustrating when you know that you can't perform well without a certain player, or you're not going to win if your pitcher goes down. The Suns know that with Durant, they're a team that can win. Without Durant, they are not. The paralysis that you feel, it's sort of like the eggs in one basket theory. You did it to yourself because you know that with that player, that level of greatness is what you're seeking. It's what you want when you're a GM of a team or the president of a team. But to be so player dependent, it's just downright scary. Okay, I'm taking a breath here. We're going to take a break. We're not going to go to break. I'm just taking a break to take a breath because I'm about to cover a topic that I need to know where you all are as our audience. And I want you to converse with me. Some of you got into my DMs already on the assassination of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. But I want to understand whether if I have a blind spot to this. Because in preparing for the show and talking about it, I had a conversation with Pablo Torre, I had a conversation with Matthew Coca. I had a text exchange with other people in my life. Yesterday, in front of the Hilton Hotel in New York City, the team hotel where the Marlins and Expos stayed for so many years, right on 6th Avenue in New York City, before 7 a.m. If you haven't heard about this, you're under a rock. Brian Thompson was assassinated in the morning light before 7 a.m. There's video, horrifying video, that I would encourage you not to watch because you can't unsee it. It looks almost impossible to believe what happened. But somebody with a hoodie and a mask on brought a silencer and a gun and shot Brian Thompson and killed him right there on the sidewalk. What happened after that, I was not prepared for. And that may be my blind spot, according to some, but I don't think so. I wasn't prepared for the internet celebration. I wasn't prepared for the arguments that came forward to me, which were the millions of people that he was responsible for killing. He deserved it. The lack of coverage that people get makes them do things they wouldn't otherwise do. Watching your child or parent or spouse or sibling die because they don't get the proper treatment or the proper coverage because they get denied coverage. Good for whoever did this. If you think that, and you think this is a rich person, poor person issue, or you think this is a right, left issue, this is a first and third issue. Either we're a first world country or we're a third world country. Either we have a system in place where vigilante justice is a thing that is commonly seen, or we do everything in our power to stop that from being the norm. I encourage you all to think about that. Forget thinking about the fact that he was a husband and a father. Forget thinking about the fact that you think that I am here protecting CEOs and thinking about the angle which we're going to mention and talk about, which is the security of people in profile positions, whether you're running for office or whether you are running a company. Healthcare for many people is a matter of life and death. There are other industries that are a matter of life and death as well, including the airline industry, the transportation industry, the food industry. You think that for-profit food companies are not doing things to your food that are causing death and health issues? You're just wrong. Is the next step activism, and is activism manifested through assassination? Or is activism manifested through effectuation of change, through doing what you can to help with either the food supply chain, waste, bringing attention to workers who aren't doing their job, trying to work within the system? Or is our system every man, woman, and child for themselves? Good luck. You better hire armed security. I am not willing to say that's where we are. And if I am wrong, tell me. Tell me that my first thought should be about the people who were denied coverage. Of course, I think about them. I reviewed the Michael Moore movie where it was all about the socialized medicine in Canada. We reviewed it on this show. Of course, the name escapes me right now because I'm in the middle of a live show and I can't think of what the name is called. There are systems in place. Go live in Canada. I have. You think that the system there, everybody is covered and everyone survives every malady? That's not how it works. Then my good friend comes to me last night at midnight when we're having a discussion and starts with the utilitarian argument, of which I'm a fan. The greatest good theory. If you can do something that is good for 3 people and bad for 1, that is the way you should act. The greatest good, John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism. What's the goal in killing the CEO, Brian Thompson? Did you save the millions of lives of people who have died because of lack of health care? No, so that doesn't count. Hold on. The entire healthcare industry has changed, so we're going to be saving people going forward. This was a proactive move to get people motivated and galvanized. No, that's not the result of this assassination, is going to be change or additional coverage. That's exactly what's going to happen. United Healthcare Board is meeting today to start adding coverage to people who weren't getting coverage. Totally. Come on. We know better. I thought we were better. His wife, his widow now, not his wife, 51 years old, came out and said that his life had been threatened. Came out to NBC and said, basically, I don't know, is it a lack of coverage? I don't know the details. I just know there were some people that had been threatening him. I had death threats too. My family knows this. Including up and into yesterday, when someone contacted me and thought it would be nice to say, hey, you better be worried about your life given your past business practices and principles. And I thought to myself, I used to have security with the Marlins. Do I need it again? Because, of course, people bring it to themselves, and I did the same. Does that make me a bad person? Is that wrong that one of the first things I thought of is, whoa, this is where we are? People know where I am, what I do. I'm in a studio recording shows for you every day. There's CEOs who are meeting today figuring out, I'm upping my security for sure. But I think we all very well know the old story. If you speak to people in the Secret Service, which I have, you can't save the life of a president if someone wants to assassinate him. Either it's the incompetence of the shooter or someone's going to die. Last thing I want you to think about on this topic, please. When you have a lot in life that you view as, hey, I didn't get a fair shake. I never had an opportunity that this person had. I don't have the money that that person had. If I had that amount of money, I'd be happier. You don't realize you're wrong, but let's forget that for a minute. I'd be happier. If I didn't have to worry about healthcare coverage, and if I had a problem, I just would pay for it, I'd live forever. And for those of you who think that that's me, then why is my sister dead? Why did my father die young? Oh, we have access to all the best healthcare. Don't worry, we don't get covered, we get denied, we get the best. No problem. What are we talking about here? A CEO doing his job, not doing his job. He's being investigated by the Department of Justice. Insider trading. That's off with his head. We have a criminal system in place. If he wanted, maybe he set it up himself. Someone said that to me, Coca. Sure as heck, fire didn't look like it from my standpoint, but maybe he didn't want to see it. Set it up himself so he didn't have to face the music. I've had it. That's it. If you have money, your life's perfect. You don't have money, your life is crap. And what we should do is take every CEO and let's get online and let's have the courage to say, this is awesome. You should be ashamed. Not you all, because I'm waiting to hear from all of you after the show. If this is unanimous for my audience, there's no way. There is no way. But it certainly was pretty unbelievable with people online, including people, wealthy people with a tremendous number of followers who are so far to the left that all they had to say was, hey, man, did it to himself. Okay. Thank you, Coco. We're going to take a break. We come back. Let's get back. We've got some sports stuff. That's so ridiculous. How do you even segue? You can't segue. So you just take a break. You wipe the screen. You show the logo of Nothing Personal. You let people take a moment to recompose. And then we'll talk about Trevor Lawrence. Boy, that flowed perfectly. I really did not do the rundown very well today. Sorry, folks. Maybe I led with that or end with that. Not sure, but I couldn't not talk about it. Thank you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal, where after a break, we pretend what happened before the break never actually happened, which is why you have a break. I'm David Sampson, coming at you every day. Just me, Matthew, and Sarah. 3 peas in a pod, giving you 50 minutes of our lives every day. Way more, with all of the work they do. With all of the work they do to get social media clips out there, to get you engaged with our show. Thank you. Thank you for all of the time that you give as I send notes to you when you contact me, as many as I can, telling you that I don't take your time for granted. I don't. Time is a commodity that we are all losing, and you give me 50 minutes 5 times a week. Thank you. Wait till I ask for 100. What? Did I say that out loud? I don't even feel guilty that I watch a movie every day, though sometimes I do. Sometimes it occurs to me, I get paid to watch a movie every day, which is amazing. But then I think about movie critics, and they get to just watch movie upon movie upon movie. And it's a service that we do, that we have, though it's been crowdsourced recently on websites where you get rankings like Rotten Tomatoes, which is critics, or you get ratings of the people's score, the audience score. Every Thursday, we're going to review one of my top 100 movies, which you can find on davidsamsonpodcast.com. There's a tab, which are links, and then a tracking document. If you click that, it's not hard to do. Trust me. And you can see all of our wait to sees and our picks of the day. We have full accountability on this show, and that's the only way we would ever do it. We have a movie that we watch, and over the next 100 Thursdays, we're going to review every movie from the top 100. This week, it's number 76, a movie called Parasite. Parasite won Best Picture in 2019. It is about a family in Korea, and they live in poverty, and they are trying to figure out how to make a living. And what they decide is that the best way to do it is that they are going to live in someone else's home by being a rich person's driver, a rich person's housekeeper, a rich person's tutor, and a rich person's tutor. And the movie, the reason it's called Parasite is this family ends up being parasites, and it is an unbelievable tragedy. And the irony of reviewing this movie today is that this is a story that is supposed to be a movie story. It's a movie. It's made up. And the plot of the movie and the denouement of the movie is an action that is not unlike what we talked about before the break. Spoiler alert, it's 5 years old. There's no such thing as a spoiler alert. But one of the solutions ends up being it involves a murder for no particular reason. Parasite is a movie that is a must-watch, not because of what happened outside the Hilton in New York yesterday morning. It's a must-watch because as a movie, it's not a documentary. It's a movie. It's incredible. It's called Parasite. All right, we have a random number generator, which is going to help us choose what movie we're going to review next week. And this was a spreadsheet that was done that also appears on davidsamsonpodcast.com, a spreadsheet that was done by one of our fans. And for the first time, it's actually not working right now, which I don't quite understand because it always works. But there's a first for everything. So Coca is going to choose a movie out of the top 100 movies we have not watched, and I'm going to announce it to you now and ask you to watch it by next Thursday when we will review it. What is it, Coca? Pulp Fiction. Yes. I love being able to watch. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Pulp Fiction? If you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, please watch it by next Thursday and come up with your top 5 Pulp Fiction quotes, because that's what we'll do next Thursday. We'll come up with our top 5 quotes that are contained in the movie Pulp Fiction. Okay. Trevor Lawrence. You remember the update? Remember what we told you yesterday? Go back to episode 1179. We had Doug Peterson saying that, hey, we're going to figure out what we're going to do with Trevor. Well, we told you that Trevor's not going to play again for the Jaguars. Did we make that an official wait to see by chance? I do not think we did. But if we had, we'd be right. The Jaguars placed Trevor Lawrence on injured reserve. His season is over. He will not play again. And this is the same day that the appeal was heard for the player for the Texans, Azeez Al-Shaair, whose 3-game suspension was upheld. And of course, there are people out there who are saying that doesn't make sense. Why shouldn't he miss the same number of games as Trevor Lawrence? Eye for an eye, I say. Well, sports has never been that way. Go back and look at the number of games that Kermit Washington missed versus the number of games that Rudy Tomjanovich missed. Go back and look at the number of games that a hockey player misses for being an instigator versus the amount of time you miss for a separated shoulder or a broken face, although in hockey, that's only a game. It is never matched. Suspensions are never matched to the amount of time missed when an injury is inflicted upon a player. That's never been bargained with the union. It's never been approved by any union. It never would be approved, that level of equality, because there is no way, almost in every circumstance, to prove that the intent was to have the player miss games. Al-Shaair went on social media and did something that if I were the Texans, I would not have allowed. And it's interesting going back to Nick Caserio, the GM, when one of his issues, and we didn't cover this yesterday when we went through his press conference and the rant that he went on, one of his other points is he's suspended for 3 games. We can't be in touch with him. We can't help him. He can't be around our team. He can't be around our services and support network. We're just putting him on an island, letting him blow in the wind, Bobby. That's really, for dramatic purposes only, that statement. We're always in touch with players who are suspended. We're making sure they're staying in shape. We're making sure they're getting the help that they need, or we're making sure that they're getting ready. Whatever the situation is, we are in touch. For the Texans to try to tell you that they're not in touch with Al-Shaair is disingenuous at best and a straight out lie at worst. Or if they're really not in touch with him, it's total incompetence. So I'm going to believe that that's not the case with the Texans. Why assume ignorance and incompetence? I don't think that's very nice. But if you're going to be in touch with your suspended player, you're going to have to deal with the reality of his social media and try to stop. Try. He tweeted, "If you want me to be your villain, I'll be your villain." And then he drops an F-bomb and says, "See you soon." And it's a picture of the Joker in full makeup. I'm trying to remember, Coca. I think it was the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, not the Heath Ledger Joker, not the Jared Leto Joker. It was the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. That can't be a positive. I understand why he's reacting. I do. He has gotten destroyed on social media, which is horrific. I keep thinking all of the negative things that I say about social media, I need to do an accounting, and I may do it today. I'm recording Levitard Live in about an hour and 10 minutes. And then we're doing a sporting class episode that you'll see on Pablo Torre Finds Out tomorrow. But I think this afternoon, I'm gonna sit around, not watch. I have to watch a movie, but after the movie this afternoon, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to contemplate the benefits of social media versus the detriments. I haven't really thought about it too much, except to say that I think communication is a good thing. I think the lack of personal interaction may be a bad thing. The changes that have taken place in personal interaction may be a bad thing, but it's what people are growing up with, and it's the only thing they know, and they're good at it. But I'm really wondering, and what I want to think about is athletes, social media, executives, CEOs, the benefit versus the cost. I'm a big cost benefit guy. I like sort of calculating in my mind. I understand, I really do, why players want to be on social media. I understand why players have all their podcasts and what they're trying to do. I even understand a topic that was covered, I think, on Oddball, another Meadowlark show, where the question was, are players actually not talking to the press because they want to break news on their own podcast? And the answer, of course, is yes. That started 15 years ago, where we had a hard time getting players to do anything because if they wanted to release something, they felt they could do it themselves for the benefit of themselves. They're allowed to get sponsors. They're allowed to do whatever side hustle they want. And I'm just wondering, what is the benefit from this villain tweet? Is it that he's hurt, that he's upset, or is it that he's embracing a role? And believe me, I know more than most about embracing a role. I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. Diontae Johnson has a week to think about that if he wants. The Baltimore Ravens player has been suspended for one game by his own team. And the reason blew my mind. He was told, this is just, it can't be. I'm going to get it out with a straight face. Diontae Johnson was suspended by the Baltimore Ravens because he was told to enter a game and play against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he refused to go in the game. I assumed that wasn't right until I saw Eric DeCosta, the GM of the Ravens, who had a quote. Diontae's suspension stems from refusing to enter our game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I had to read that twice. This is the guy they got at the deadline. Remember, they traded a 5th-round pick. Baltimore's only paying him about $625,000. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He has not been successful. He barely plays. He played like 17 snaps in his first game after the trade, and then 5, and then 11, and then 6, and then in the 5th game, 0. He doesn't play. He's either a bad acquisition, or he got bad, or he's benched, or he's not part of the scheme, whatever the case is. The amount of time that we spend with our bench players before games and after games, be ready. You don't know when an injury is going to happen. You don't know when the manager is going to call on you to enter the game. Be ready. We had a player. It was a pitcher. I want to say it was you, Scotty Olson. Love you, man, but it may not be you. I don't want to sully you if it's not. We had a pitcher that was wearing sneakers in the dugout, and we needed the pitcher to pinch run because we were out of players late in the game, and he had to go back to the clubhouse and put on his game spikes and get out there, and we had a delay, and we had to pinch run someone else, or we weren't able to pinch run because the player wasn't ready in time. And we then changed the rules, which is everybody wears their gamers at all times because you never know. In my entire career, I never had a player, hey, I don't want the at-bat. I'm not going to go in the field. Not playing. Certainly not that I can remember, and I would remember. Although my memory is failing recently, but I still think I would remember. When you're a coach and you're a Harbaugh and you say, and you call the number, they do it with hand signals or they do it through the headset or however they do it. And all of a sudden the guy doesn't do it. And the team says they're only going to suspend him one game for that. And this is not a CBA where there is a set amount of time for a suspension for certain activities, nefarious and otherwise. No, this is up to the team. Now, there's a system that the union could file a grievance against the Ravens. Good luck with that. The union may have to cross its fingers and its toes in order to represent Diontae at any sort of appeal for this loss of revenue for missing a game. The only reason in the world that the Ravens would ever say what they said is because it happened, because it makes them look so bad. The Ravens and Harbaugh look worse than Johnson does. To not have control over your players, and don't at me. Don't start with, oh, there he goes again, Samson. You want control over men. You're a bad person. You're right. Your employers have no control over you. Totally. I get it. You show up at 9 and leave at 5 under your own power and will. My bad. There are power plays at every stage and level of the working world and the personal world. Oh, that's right. Your household has no power dynamic. I forgot. Every time you have the honey-do list and every time you do something you don't want to do by going somewhere, driving somewhere, doing something, you're right. You do it out of guilt, out of love, out of obligation. No power involved. No power. Give me a break. This is an indictment on the Ravens. Don't get me wrong. I would have suspended Johnson. You know how long I'd get rid of him? I'd release him. Forget suspending him one game. See you later. I don't need cause. I'll pay you your money. I don't want you anywhere near our sideline. I don't want you infecting our clubhouse with your selfishness. Now, this could be clipped and aggregated if it comes out that Diontae Johnson was hurt and that he couldn't play. That would really suck for this entire segment. I'll bet you $1 NGTH, not going to happen. Johnson will serve the game, but you can bet your bippy he's not going to be a Raven next year. And if that's the case, then why bother? What a disappointing. You're not going to hit every trade. That's normal. Have a guy not go in the game? Shame on you. You know what else is shameful? Stealing money. Now, you corporate CEO blind spot POS, David, you steal money from fans. You steal their time. You raise prices. You bad man CEO, making your company's profit mean more and matter more to the people they serve. Meanwhile, they're serving, of course, public shareholders, but let's not, quibble about that. Let's talk about the other way that people steal money. There's scams all over. I grew up in New York City, and I was taught by my mother at a very young age. And this doesn't exist, I don't think, anymore. There was a game called 3-Card Monte. 3-Card Monte is when someone would come with a turned over corrugated box. They'd put cards down, they'd switch them around and say, guess the card. And you look around and say, oh, I'll put $5 down. The 2 of clubs is there on the left. And it would never be there on the left. And you'd lose your $2. And the scam was that you'd see people winning money, but it was all plants. So you'd see someone, hey, I'll put $50. The 2 of clubs is in the middle. And they win. You're like, oh, I can do that. That was the beginning of all of the Jumbotron scramble games that you see with the ball under the cap at a baseball game, or it's this, what's it called, Coca? It's an in-game entertainment where you have to choose where the ball is underneath a hat or underneath something. And they do it so fast. And then 2, 2, 3, 3. Scams are everywhere. There are people right now trying to get your social security number. They're trying to get you to give them their bank account. We covered a movie called Thelma about people scamming you out of money when you're old, when you're middle-aged. Hey, my grandson's in prison. Oh, my God, here's 10 grand. A guy got arrested yesterday, which is unbelievable. He's a professional poker player. He was not arrested yesterday. When was he arrested? Oh, he pled guilty. Thank you, Coca. He was arrested in 2022. He pled guilty yesterday. Listen to what he did. This is quite something. Oh, it's right here in small letters. A professional poker player pleaded guilty Wednesday to defrauding bettors in New York and Florida by falsely claiming to have inside information on sporting events. This is something. Here's the scam. Pay me money, and I'm going to tell you who to bet on. But I'm not going to be the analytics guy. I'm not going to be the guy on DraftKings Network or on any other network who uses either my intelligence or uses my analytical skills, or who just tells you what my pick is. By the way, make your own decisions. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to get on the air and I'm going to say, I've got inside information. I speak to team doctors. I speak to trainers. I speak to players. I speak to coaches. I've got information that is going to help you. I speak to referees, and I'm going to tell you that this game is fixed, and we're going to be on the right side because I got the information, and now you do too. And all you got to do is pay me money each month. Pay me a retainer. It'll renew automatically. You can stop at any time, but pay me the money. I'll give you this inside information. So people did it, and then they said, this is a bit like Hawk Tua's NFT. What an absolute scam. It turns out that this guy had no information at all. His name is Corey Zeidman. and he's going to go to jail. His scheme and scam brought in $25 million at a minimum because people were so desperate. We are sponsored and we are part of a gambling network called DraftKings Network. Every time we do anything, we talk to you about what you can do if you have a gambling problem. We talk to you about the sanctity of the information we're giving you, that it is information. Do with it as you will at your risk. Gambling, by definition, when you go into a casino, you are taking your entertainment dollars and you are putting them at risk for the thrill of victory. Betting on sports, you are putting your money at risk for the thrill of victory, for the feeling. I'm invested in this. If you know the result of something, it's not gambling. I am not going to find anyone to bet me that a red light is going to turn green or that the sunrise is going to lead to a sunset. Anything that is certain, there's really not a big market on it. Sports, by definition, can't be that. The leagues spend so much money trying to police the gambling to make sure that you all believe there's a level playing field. Do you believe there's a level playing field in the stock market? As a day trader or as a long-term investor, do you believe that people have information that you don't have and that they trade on that information to make money that you don't have a chance to make? What's exactly the difference? When you enter into a transaction where you believe that you do not have all the information that is there to be had, but you choose to enter into the transaction anyway, who do we blame? This is not about being defrauded. What this guy did, he pled guilty because he lied. Much like a CEO or a board member or a founder of a company, if they do insider trading or they lie about their numbers or they do anything to defraud the public, that's a crime that you go to prison for. But it has nothing to do with you participating in the event, because you go in knowing that there are people in this position and that you're not going to be the one who gets scammed. The people who get scammed are the ones who say, oh, I want the easy money. I want the sure thing. You want a sure thing? Go find Nicolette Sheridan. Nothing personal pick of the day. Lakers +2 over the Heat. I can't even believe that, Coca. I really can't. We are 163 and 174. The Lakers lost by 41 points to a Heat team. It's just the Lakers. What a disgrace. It wasn't even the South Beach flu. It was general malaise, lack of effort, lack of care, a total embarrassment. There's no way LeBron's team is allowed to. By the way, the whole South Beach flu thing, totally bolstered up by people down in Miami thinking that, oh, that's a real thing. Give me a break. All right, let's talk about tonight's NFL game. We're going to take the Lions -3.5 over the Packers. The line moved from 3 to 3.5. If you can find 3, I encourage you to take it. The line on DraftKings is 3.5, but don't worry. The Lions will cover it. The Lions are a Super Bowl-bound team, very likely. They could get upset in the playoffs, but they are the best team currently going in the NFC. The Packers have outperformed. The Packers are a playoff team. Jordan Love has shown his ability to win games. The Packers are being proven to be correct in how they do their quarterbacks. Let them sit for a while and then play. Rodgers did it. Love has done it, and Love has gotten it done. But there's something about Dan Campbell and his Lions where he has become, and I've told you, the biggest success story as it relates to me, because I was so down on him, not thinking that his opening press conference about knocking people's knees out was actually going to build a culture. He's built a culture and built a team that wins. They lost in the NFC title game last year to the Niners. Their next step is making it to New Orleans this year in February. and I expect them to do it. Now, if you are the coach that you think you are in Dan Campbell, this is the type of game on a Thursday night over a Packers team that through the new scheduling of the NFL, where they want to play every night, they're playing their third game in 12 days. This ought to be a mismatch. And so we're going to take the Lions 3.5 over the Packers. I appreciate the time today. We will be back for another show live tomorrow. Tune into Le Batard in about 50 minutes. We're going to talk about a lot of things. There is a lot to cover. Thanks for supporting the sporting class as well. Everything we do for you, it's just business. Nah, I love you guys. This is nothing personal.